this store like an instrument. You learn it slowly. We actually looked up online and found their personal flavor preferences for dessert. And people walk by and they're like, where did you get these percentages from? I'm like, they're based on taste buds.
I'm more for the arts than I am for the divisive politics, I can assure you of that. It's really been a great help to me sometimes in community situations that might be a little tense to, add some music or sing a song together, and it, really brings people together.
We have many blessings in Charleston, right? And can you believe the blessing that we have to have the greatest community jazz big band in America?
What we might call the beginnings of jazz, I contend, got started in the very early colonial period when we brought Africans in and introduced them to European music and said, here, we want you to play these instruments for us.
The great thing about American music is that it is always vibrant. It is always welcoming. It is always welcoming of other points of view. Being from Hong Kong and came to the States via England, I probably bring my own take on the piece with me that probably Copeland never intended.
This afternoon, for instance, we had 300 descendants of the petitioners from Clarendon County here to see the play. Some of them I had spoken to as I wrote the play and got a lot of their insights, but having them here today to see it was a little nerve-wracking, like, are they going to like it? Does it work? This is not a black story, this is our story. I actually grew up on a cotton farm in segregated South Carolina myself, not long after this took place, so that part of the story I knew.
My great-great-great-grandfather who started it was the first one to import a double-action harp. His company made drums for the Confederate Army. My grandfather rented George Gershwin his piano when he came to Charleston in 1934.
It was really the inspiration of our local Gullah Geechee culture that inspired a lot of the music that went into Porgy and Bess, and of course the storyline was written by a local author as well.
After the Africans that were brought to the coast of South Carolina were, shuffled and sold to the different plantations, the isolation either on that one particular plantation or those that weren't necessarily connected to a plantation were isolated on the Sea Islands.
This is the only basket that can be made by hand only.
But I'd be glad to tell you, and by telling you, that's preserving my culture. He was the trickster mostly in the story, and the tar baby, I think, which they thought represented us as tar babies, black folks. When I'm finished telling you like a story, I can tell you on the end exactly what that story means or what it stands for. So it has really some history to it. Plantation owner could move them around, and sometimes he send them to another plantation or sell them off, and he'll never see that family here again.
It came out of the oppression of the white church. Denmark Vesey here in 1822, 46 years after the Declaration of Independence, was hanged for wanting the same thing that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson wanted, was freedom.
When I'm finished with my work or practicing, I always want to study zoology and see what colleges I can go to because I want to become a zoologist.
I think American culture is sharing our creativity. We have such a wealth of creativity and minds in this country, and I think that's what our culture is that we get the opportunity to embrace so many different people.
Like tapas plates or vignettes of music or something that you can easily take a look at, take a bite of, put it down, walk away.
In this country, I feel that everybody's given the chance. And all you have to do is take advantage of this chance and work hard and pursue your dreams and be persistent.
Never give up. Do something for nothing. What have you done for me? Lightless society.
We're holding on to some older cultural institutions and ideas maybe a little bit harder or longer than some other places.
There's a culture of whites in America, and there's a culture of blacks in America. And if you don't believe that, go to a funeral. That's the best example I can think of when you can tell whether or not there's integration or not. If you go to a white funeral, you will find very few black people there. But if you go to a black funeral, you'll find very few white people there. And that's because people don't really interact with each other that much. Because if they did, and the reason you go to a funeral in the first place is because you knew the deceased person, or you knew that deceased person's family well enough to go to the funeral. So there's really still two separate societies, two separate cultures.